it's one of those things that I think everybody knows. Everyone knows Gardner Minshew wants to be the starter. When it becomes verbalized, and then, like you said, Gunner, it gets out, I think that's where it kind of rubs me the wrong way a little bit. My, oh my, I got a tweet for all you guys in just 1 second, but let me tell you about the great people that present this fine show, Ocean Casino Resort. Book your summer of 2022 weekend at Ocean Casino. Book it now and go for the live shows. Go for the win. Summer of 2022. It's going to be epic. We're all going to have ourselves a good time. We all saw the report. Devan, you saw this. Gunner, you probably saw this. Gardner Minshew, supposedly, after the Jets game, went into Nick Sirianni's office and said, What do I got to do to be the starter? Now, that was a report from Chris Mortensen of ESPN. Finally, this week, Nick Sirianni was asked about that reported meeting, and he said, I'm not going to talk about what happens behind closed doors in my office. That's between me and my players and my coaches. I don't want to violate that trust. But Gardner Minshew, you know what he is? He's a real competitor. As soon as he said that, I went, oh, wow, that meeting happened. Well, Gardner Minshew actually confirmed the meeting and said what he said to Nick Sirianni in the press conference, getting this by way of our friend John Clark of NBC Sports Philadelphia, putting it out there saying that Gardner Minshew went into the office and said, what do I got to do? And he says, all right, I'm going to keep working on it. After Coach Sirianni looked at him and said, simply, we're good there, meaning good at starting quarterback. We're solid right there. Gardner Minshew said, okay, well, I'm going to keep working on it. I have a problem. Look, if you're a backup, and Sirianni, I thought, put it perfectly in his press conference earlier in the week when he said, if you don't want to be the starter, then I don't want you as a backup. And I think that's a great way to put it. I think that's a very poetic way to put it. But after you beat the Jets and it was your first start of the season, not only your first start, your first real reps, you got a couple of games here and there and afterwards. But if you go in after one win, it seems a little bit like you're not the best teammate in the world. That's how it comes off to me. Gunner, what are your thoughts?
I don't think it shows that he's a bad teammate because anybody I've talked to said he's a great guy in the locker room.
Okay.
Anybody who plays the game at this level, if you're not competing to be a starter, if you don't want to start, I don't care if you're the 53rd man on the roster, then you're in the wrong profession. I mean, that's what it's all about, being a competitor. And let's face it, Gardner Minshew is also playing for his future. He's trying to showcase himself, whether he's going to be with the Philadelphia Eagles or somebody else. And I think, there's some truth to the rumor that the Eagles might try to trade him in the offseason. There's nothing wrong with that. As long as it did not become a disruptive factor in that locker room, which it did not, I have no problem with them going, hey, coach, I want to start. I want to be a frontline guy. I have no problem with that. Okay, we understand who the competition was at the time. I have no problem with that. He didn't make bones about it. For everything that I've gathered, there was never any tension between him and Jalen Hurts in the locker room. Gardner Minshew went about his business. So I don't blame him for just asking that. Now, who knows? Gardner Minshew is known to be a little bit different guy to begin with, as evidenced by the video of him in the parking lot with his dad, how exuberant they were after that win.
Yeah.
The fact that he got a chance just to play, and so I have no problem with him going up to the coach and say, Coach, I want to talk to you, man. What do I got to do to be the starter of this team? I don't think it was disrespectful, and I don't think it was disruptive.
Well, but DGunn, maybe you can weigh in here. How does that become a report if it's just a private meeting between the two of them? I think it's more concerning that clearly Gardner Minshew put that out there. I would assume that would be something.
Or his agent.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or his agent.
That would make more sense.
A lot of stuff that comes out about players come directly through agents. Why do you think so many people in media outlets, get certain tips, certain breaking stories, the relationships they build with the agent? And if an agent is trying to get his players' numbers up, it also means that the agent's numbers are going to be up as well. So I can understand from an agent perspective, and I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. I've seen it happen too many times where, you wonder, where the heck does a leak come from? Start with the agent and then next start with the player. Mark, as you know, all of us in the media, we have our sources. We have people that we talk to, people that we cut deals with, so to speak,
Yeah.
And that's just the nature of the beast. Everybody's trying to get edge, especially in this social media world that we live in today. Everybody's looking for an edge, looking for an angle to one up, the competition.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why we don't get ribs. You give ribs to the agents and everything, and then they tip you off to the next thing. That's why we don't get any of that.
Yeah, he invites them fishing. That's who he's texting nice things to. Meanwhile, we just get like judgment and mean emojis.
Wait. There was no judgment.
Right.
I asked you a question. There was no judgment. I was just trying to get a better feel for the possibility that if certain people are sharing the same charter boat I'm on or the body of water I'm on and fishing close to me, then I'm safe. That I'm not going to get hooked in the back of the neck, or I'm not going to have to untangle you from trees and rocks every 5 minutes. I just want to make sure you can handle your own out in the wilds of fishing. That's all I wanted to know. It was not passing judgment.
All right. Well, I'll take your word for that. But I do want to talk about Nick Sirianni's response because I love it. And I feel like if I were to ask him like, hey, I want to be the starter, and I got that response, that would be kind of, it's like, just like, oh, we're good. Like, oh no, like, thanks. I appreciate it. But like, no, like no, we're good. It's like DGunn when we asked to go fishing. He's like, no, I'm good.
It's a firm no.
Wow. How did I get dragged?
You can't argue with it. It's just like, nah.
But if that is the response that Nick Sirianni gave Gardner Minshew, I thought it was a very appropriate response without hurting his feelings or being demeaning. Hey, look, I understand what you're saying, but right now we're good at that position.
Right.
Translation. I've got my starting quarterback right now.
Right.
And going back to what we were talking about, Mark, earlier about you wanting to see Jalen Hurts maybe for a couple of downs, couple of series. I just saw a quote, John, from Nick Sirianni's postgame comments. He said, you know what? This was an opportunity to get Jalen Hurts 100%, closer to 100%. I'm good with that. I have no problem with that because I don't want any excuses. Whatever happens next week, win or lose, I don't want any excuses that the quarterback, because he tweaked that ankle in a game against the Dallas Cowboys, or he missed that game because he got jacked up against the Dallas Cowboys, I don't want any excuses. When he steps on that field 1 week from this weekend, I want Jalen Hurts. I want that team to be at 100% and let the swinging begin.
I'm sorry. I'm just seeing in the chat, there's a reference to Gundam Style. And I thought everyone forgot about that for a while.
I forgot about it.
It was either a typo trying to say Ganon Style. With no defense, or I don't know. But Dazza, thank you for that. Sean, thank you for the follow-up as well. Just real quick, to go back to the last thing on Minshew as far as that conversation went, I feel like going to the coach as soon as you're traded and saying you want to be the starter, totally kosher, no issue whatsoever. But after one game, 13 weeks into the season, and it's the Jets, I mean, I feel like it should be it's one of those things that I think everybody knows. Everyone knows Gardner Minshew wants to be the starter. When it becomes verbalized, and then, like you said, Gunner, it gets out, I think that's where it kind of rubs me the wrong way a little bit. And as far as that hug goes with him and his dad, could you imagine if Gardner Minshew would have led the Eagles to a win over the Cowboys tonight in prime time? Could you imagine the bro hug that would have been exchanged between father and son? I feel like the universe would have collapsed.
They probably would have been body slamming each other in the parking lot like WWE style,
Probably.
Yeah. They would have been like jumping into tables like Buffalo Bills fans. Like body slamming tables.
I have no problem with that kind of emotion. I mean, that's rare. I'm glad you see that. If a father and a son have that kind of relationship, no matter how insignificant it may seem to us at that particular moment, if that's the bond they have, that's great. I wish all fathers and sons had those kind of bonds. Unfortunately, that's not the world we live in. But I wish all dads had those kind of relationships with their sons. And if that is their relationship, their special moment, their one moment in time, whatever the case may be, so be it. Let them enjoy it.
There you go. That's all we're saying. Just enjoy yourself. They're having a great time. That's all we can say. Good for them. If we can't really look at this game and get much out of it when it comes to anything with the starters, and we know why. I mean, Devontae Smith got the record. Good for him. Jason Kelce got 122 snaps under his belt consecutive. Good for him. Out of the game. Done. Is there anything we can really take out of a game like this? As much of a blowout as it was, if we just even evaluate the first half, is there anything we can take out of a game like this, Gunner? Anything we can take away from an absolute beatdown with the second and third strings playing against the mostly first strings of the Dallas Cowboys?
Yes, we can take out the fact that the Eagles patched up, back up, offensive line didn't embarrass itself. They took it to that Dallas, front seven. They ran the ball well. A kid named Jason Huntley showed that he can run in the National Football League. Unfortunately for him, he's buried on the depth chart behind 4 other running backs. So those are 2 positives that I saw. Now, when you look at the guys playing on the back end of the defense tonight, it looked like the Keystone Cops running around back there. A lot of miscommunication in the pass defense tonight. So those guys got a lot of work to do in terms of trying to get more playing time. But I saw the 2 positives that really stood out was their offensive line, went toe-to-toe with this Dallas defensive front, and that this young kid, ran the football well when given an opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Devan, do you have a favorite moment from this game? Just something you'll take away and be like, well, at least that happened?
Ooh, honestly, I was just so pleasantly surprised with that first drive. And I like seeing Tyree Jackson in action. We haven't seen anything and got his first touchdown. But I have to say that Kenny Gainwell, he had 2 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
One of the Kenny G touchdowns really brought a lot of joy into my life because I haven't been able to say Kenny G on this program in a while. So
very good. I gotta go back to a guy that I think we only talked about really in the preseason, and that's Milton Williams.
Right. Oh yeah.
Defensive tackle, a 3rd round pick. Like, we talk a lot about the offensive line and the defensive, pretty much anything that preceded by defense, we have not really enjoyed so far this season. However, when it comes to the defensive line, I feel like they're in good hands going forward. I feel like Josh Sweat's only going to get better. He obviously didn't play tonight, but I feel like if Fletcher Cox eventually moves on, I feel like when Javon Hargrave eventually moves on, I feel like, not saying that Milton Williams is going to have the career those guys have had, but I just feel like he'll be a good starting off point. And he got limited reps, obviously, this season. But you could see why he was as high as a 3rd round pick. And that's the type of guy you expect to get in the 3rd round. Somebody that shows some promise his rookie year and then goes on to develop into a much better player. But right now, in a game like this where he's going up against Lyle Collins, who we all know what happened with his draft stock, but he would have been a 1st round pick. Milt Williams put him on roller skates a couple of different points in this game, and they even flipped him around to the other side of the line of scrimmage to try to attack Dak Prescott in the backfield there. If I know offensively, we can look at the running backs. We can always look at the offensive line. Jeff Stoutland literally just seems to be a guy that just anoints you and you become a Pro Bowl worthy offensive lineman. That's how great he is at his job. But on the defensive side of things, you can look at a guy like Milton Williams as a guy that I think has taken steps forward throughout this year. I was glad to see him get extra reps tonight with the regular guys not really playing. And I thought there was a couple of different occasions tonight, especially coming up with tackle for loss. He almost had a sack later in that game. You saw the Cowboys offensive lineman getting in his face after he took down Dak Prescott. They thought, it was a little bit of a dirty hit because he landed on top of him. There was no way to avoid that. But I just thought there were a couple of different occasions where he got into the backfield tonight where I wasn't really expecting him to get off the line of scrimmage as quickly as he did.
Big body, nice low center of gravity, strong, great bull rush. And who better to learn from than 2 proven pros like Javon Hargrave and Fletcher Cox in terms of trying to be one of the defensive linemen that will be counted on for a few years to come down the road. I love his motor, his nonstop motor. He even batted down a pass at one point. I think the kid has a lot of promise. And now that you have him in that rotation, he's got, a whole season under his belt. He's not a rookie player anymore. He has a whole season under his belt now. I think he's going to be valuable in terms of both the run defense and pass rush when this team starts the playoffs.
Devan, I'm being reminded by our friends in the chat here. Was it Robert that hit us up with this? Our boy Aaron Sipos.
I was literally just about to bring that up. That's and I wasn't even looking at the chat. I didn't want to bring down the vibe, but yeah, who didn't play so hot today? Our early season MVP, Aaron Sipos. I don't know what happened.
That was a shank. That was a shank, and that was a shankopotamus, is what that was.
Yeah,
that was pretty nasty. And I don't know. I meant to look up how many what the conversion rate was on 3rd down for the Cowboys, but it seemed like multiple occasions it was 3rd and long. Dak Prescott 25 yards down the middle of the field. The touchdown they had to Jordan Schultz. That was I think it was right after that punt, if I'm not mistaken. That was the one that just made you feel like you were just like that was where the game was completely out of hand. They got up the shank of a punt from Sipos, and then they had the touchdown in the middle of the end zone. Literally no one around him. No one around him. And that's when the game really got out of hand.
That was when I was like, all right, can we just start the post game now? Like, let's just wrap it up here. But, and the Sipos thing, we joke, but also if that happens in a playoff game, you know, that's unacceptable. So I don't know. Maybe he has the yips. Maybe he's maybe he's injured. I don't know what the deal is. But our early season MVP has lost his shine, I guess. But yeah, that touchdown definitely hurt. And I also felt like the Eagles defense looked like a high school defense. And I can't tell if that's because it was, you know, our backups or if our defense just isn't very good, especially against the pass.
No, it was because of the backups tonight. There's no question it was because of the backups tonight.
I don't trust the defense ever. So
I know. Oh, I know. And I don't disagree with you. I still don't understand what Jonathan Gannon's identity is as a defensive coordinator. And, you know, he played more aggressively against lesser opponents, but he showed better opponents too much respect playing, you know, off coverage, playing these deep zone coverages. So I don't know what we're going to expect from Jonathan Gannon in the playoffs. The biggest thing, you know, we can argue all we want about the coverage that his defense plays. The biggest concern for me is that the front seven's inability to get to the quarterback. You know, they had 28 quarterback sacks before tonight, which was like 28th in the league. And when you start playing playoff football, you better be able to put some pressure on the likes of a Tom Brady, Matthew Stafford, Kyle Murray, Aaron Rodgers, these guys. If not, they're going to sit back there and pick you apart like shooting bottles off a fence. I don't care if you try to play man on them, bump and run, deep zone, whatever the case may be. If you're not putting pressure on a quarterback and those quarterbacks have time to survey the situation, they're going to chew you up, and it's going to be a quick exit for your team.
Real quick, the Dallas Cowboys 8 for 13 on third down, 2 for 2 on fourth down. Eagles 3 for 3, but 10 for 18 on third down efficiency right there. So the Cowboys 8 of 13 third down attempts. They converted on 8 of them. So there you go. That's not exactly the day that you want to have as a defense, unfortunately, for the Eagles. But no, it had to do, I think, Devin, answer your question. It's similar to what Gunnar was saying. Had to do with personnel more than anything. I mean, Zach McPherson, a couple of different occasions, and he was a guy that was, I love this title that a lot of players get, Mr. Training Camp. Zach McPherson was one of those guys that was Mr. Training Camp, and I was actually reliving this moment. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside was actually a Mr. Training Camp at one moment as well. So that's what that title has done for some players. But anyway, Zach McPherson goes out tonight, not really able to stay with many Cowboys receivers throughout this game. You saw Wilson come up with a huge game, his best game of the season by far for the Cowboys tonight. Had a couple of catches down the sideline. McPherson's not able to stick with them at different points of this game tonight. So left a lot to be desired when you're trying to evaluate like the offensive line with their backups, defensive line with their backups. Secondary certainly did not pass any tests tonight. Dak Prescott with 5 touchdown passes. I was looking forward to seeing something from this defensive unit, from this secondary. Give me something to look forward to for depth for next year or even going into the playoffs in case of emergency, break glass type of thing. That was, even for a Jonathan Gannon defense, that left a lot to be desired, Gunnar.
You're talking about a bunch of guys who don't have a lot of game experience playing together. That's the big thing. You know, when you have a starting defensive unit playing in the secondary, those guys form a cohesive bond. There's unwritten. A lot of times there's unspoken words. All they have to do is look at each other, and they know what they're going to do in certain defensive calls. You got a bunch of guys back there still trying to figure out every play. Where am I supposed to be? Who am I supposed to cover when I drop back? What zone do I have? What third of a zone do I have? So on and so forth. If they run a crossing route, do I follow this guy? Do I sit in the hole and wait for this guy to come this way? You know, so there was a lot of confusion back there. And that's to be understood when you consider the lack of playing time that these guys in the back end have together. I'm not surprised. I tell you, the biggest surprise to me was the fact that the Eagles hung with this team for the first 30 minutes. The outcome of the game, you know, 51-26 was a little beyond what I thought it would be. But I'm not surprised the Cowboys pulled away in the second half when they kept playing the starters. You know, you got guys who are just happy to be on the field playing the likes of Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. Are you kidding me? You're lucky it wasn't worse than what it was.
It was amazing. They kept it as close as it was. Real quick, when we come back, we're going to be joined by John McMullen from Lincoln Financial Field. Don't forget, portions of this live broadcast are brought to you by First Trust Bank. You can check out the JAKIB Media YouTube channel Monday morning for Birds 365 with Jody Mack and Johnny Mack. First Trust Bank, the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. John McMullen, Johnny Mack himself, will join us when we return on Live Postgame Show.